All right, everybody, here it is, the entry-level Harley-Davidson motorcycle that you've been waiting for, the Sprint. What? It's about how much we know about it right now, but that hasn't stopped anybody from speculating all day about it. So we will too. That's right. During Harley's recent Q2 announcements, their CEO, Joe Zeitz, announced that the 2026 lineup will have a new entry-level model in it called the Sprint, and another entry-level model which we know even less about. But Sprint's supposed to be unveiled in October of this year. Of course, we know almost nothing about this, only that it's a throwback to their Aermacchi years back in the 60s and 70s. It's going to be a low cc engine. It's been in the works since 2021, and it's going to sell in both US and international markets. That's all we know. And quick history lesson, the original Sprint 250 was offered by Harley back in 1961, I think, after Harley acquired a controlling share of Aermacchi and started importing the Aermacchi Sprint 250 rebranded as a Harley 250. And it had a short stint. It went up to about 350 cc's over a decade or more, and ultimately it was discontinued in 1974. And a couple of quick thoughts about what I hope the Sprint isn't going to be. One, please don't make it a 250cc bike. I don't know who that would appeal to, Harley fan or not. And two, please don't make it a replica of the original Sprint. Because again, I have no idea who that would actually go over well with. Although, to be fair, it is kind of reminiscent of my very first bike, the Honda Trail 110, which I got when I was 12. Also, it is kind of reminiscent of the Janus motorcycles, and we all know what kind of publicity those have had in the online motorcycle community lately. And three, please don't just trade the nostalgia of Harley by bringing in some India import and slapping Harley on it, because we all know how well that went when Ford slapped the Mustang logo on this monstrosity. But actually, like I was saying earlier, bringing the X440 stateside might actually not be the worst move for Harley here. But first, let's figure out, how did we get here? What is the current landscape that Harley is trying to combat against, trying to change? Let's get into that. So what exactly is entry level these days? I mean, Harley would have you believe it's a Sport Bob for $16,000. Let me repeat that, $16,000. I mean, I get it, the Sport Bob's a nice bike. It's stripped down, it's got that Harley styling on it. It rumbles like it should, but it's $16,000. You can walk into any other dealership in the industry and walk out with something at the top of their line. We're talking MT10, Suzuki Hayabusa, Kawasaki ZX-10, or even a Royal Enfield Meteor with a whole year's worth of gear and gas on top of it. And don't go in on me about, but Salty, what about the Nightster? We'll get to that in a minute. And that's really the crux of the problem. I mean, what Harley considers the starting line, most other companies consider the finish line. I mean, average price on a Harley is what, $25,000 now? I mean, that's not mid-tier to most people. That's pinnacle. That's rarefied air right there. I mean, we're talking Ducati Multistrada V4S, or a BMW M1000RR, or a Honda Fireblade. So here's the thing, Harley's not just competing with Japanese metric motorcycles anymore, they're competing with a generational shift. I mean, riders these days, they think differently, they shop differently, they ride differently, if they ride at all. So that's why this conversation matters. Harley's got to figure out how to stay Harley and still stay relevant. And this conversation matters to 19-year-olds who are looking at Rebel 500s because that's all they can afford. And it's also relevant for the 35-year-old guy who wants to upgrade but can't quite stomach a $700 a month payment. See, this isn't the first time Harley has tried its hand at entry-level bikes to attract new customers. Back in 2014, they introduced the Street 750 and Street 500. And it was a radical departure for Harley's usual styling. It was liquid cooled, was lighter, more compact, and ultimately it was affordable. And in India, the 750 actually made a huge splash. It was nimble for all the heavy local traffic, and it had that Harley badge on there that gave them something aspirational, but within reach. In fact, for a while, India became Harley's largest overseas market. The 750s were everywhere. But here in the US, yeah, that was a whole different story. The Street 500 and 750 landed with a thud. And let's be honest, we all kind of saw it coming. They were plasticky. They weren't up to Harley's usual standards, and the engine kind of had the soul of a blender. And of course the styling, well, didn't look like a Harley. Even the newer riders, the riders that it was meant for, yeah, they weren't impressed. Because while it was cheaper than the Sportster lineup, the traditional entry-level market, it didn't feel like they were getting anything else better than what they could already get in that price market. You could get a Honda Rebel or a Yamaha Bolt, and for the same price or less, feel like you're riding something a little bit more refined. And by 2020, the Street was discontinued. So what can we learn from that? Well, it shows us that Harley can make an entry-level bike, low CCs, and in some places, people actually want them. But it also showed us that just slapping the Harley logo on a budget bike doesn't guarantee it's going to be a success. In the US especially, it has to feel like a Harley. So fast forward a little bit to 2023, and Harley comes roaring back into the India market by partnering with Hero MotoCorp, who's the biggest manufacturer in the country, and they roll out the X440. A little one-cylinder, 440cc thumper, oil air-cooled roadster, flat handlebars, upright seating. Pretty nice styling, actually, if you can ask me, and sold pretty well. And it's nimble and quick and able to handle all that heavy traffic. And here's the kicker, guys. It starts at about 240,000 rupees, which is about 2,850 US dollars. That is a quarter of what you could expect to walk away from a purchase of a Nightster with. So I mean, should Harley bring the X440 stateside and sell it? Is the Sprint gonna be an X440? I don't know, I guess we'll find out. But it sure wouldn't cost 2,850 bucks, that's for sure. I mean, you gotta talk about shipping and import costs, tariff fees, emissions regulations, and of course, good old American upcharges. But still, you probably would bring it into market about 6 to 7 grand. I mean, at those prices, we're talking about competing with the Honda Rebel 500 or the Royal Enfield Meteor or even the KTM Duke 390. I mean, these are all bikes that sell really well to entry-level riders. So, I mean, what do you think? You think Harley should import the X440 into the United States? And I'll be honest, I have long thought that, you know, if they're looking to attract new riders, then that'd go a long way. I mean, that's a pretty good shot. And I mean, they're already licensing the X350 RA for their training classes. So, I mean, it's a logical progression. All right, I promised we'd come back to the Nightster, so now let's talk about the Revolution Max engine. This is the platform that powers Harley's latest bikes, like the Pan America, the Nightster, and the Sportster S. And technically, it's a masterpiece. It's got dual overhead cams, liquid cooling, variable valve timing, high compression. I mean, it revs high, it's fast, it's efficient, it's modern. But in a lot of Harley circles, it's heresy. And it's not just keyboard warriors out there saying this on the internet. It's people like Cruzy Originals. He went and bought a Nightster and he turned it into one of the sickest looking stunt bikes I've ever seen. But you know what he said about it?
It's an amazing machine. It handles better than any dyno I've ever ridden. The Rev Max motor is legit, but it's just not a Harley.
Not a Harley. That's the line you're gonna hear over and over. And it's the reason why nobody wants the Nightster. And let's be honest here, it's very likely what's gonna happen to the Sprint. And let's be further honest here, a lot of people that would probably have really loved the Rev Max platform the non-Harley riders that want to get into it, they've already kind of got a chip on their shoulder about the whole Harley cachet. And even if it's a great bike and affordable, they're still not going to touch it. That's the conundrum that Harley is in. It's what happened to the Nightster. It's what happened to the Street. Like I said, it's probably what's going to happen to the Sprint. I mean, this is not a hit piece against Harley. I really am hoping for the best here. So, salty you ask, if Harley loyalists are just going to gatekeep on the Sprint and non-Harley fans are just going to turn a blind eye to it because they don't want to buy into the culture, what should Harley do? Well, I'm glad you asked. And because you are my favorite viewer, I'm going to tell you. So rewind back to the old Sportsters, the Iron 883s, the 48s, the 1200 Customs. Those bikes defined the entry-level market for generations. Those bikes had all the traditional styling of a Harley. They looked like they should, they sounded like they should, and they were affordable. And they were infinitely customizable. And then, Harley killed it. And then after they killed it, all of those gatekeepers who used to say Sportster wasn't a real bike or it was a girl's bike, now all those same people are waxing philosophic about how great the Sportster was. So the question becomes this: if you're Harley and you want to bring back an entry-level bike and you want it to look and feel like a Harley, why not bring back the Sportster? I mean, keep the classic old air-cooled V-twin, but modernize it, you know? Modernize it for emissions, put ABS on it, upgrade the ergonomics and suspension, and bring it in for like, I don't know, 8K, then boom. You got an entry-level Harley that looks and sounds like a Harley and is the gateway drug again to the next generation. I mean, we're talking new Coke bringing back classic Coke here. People will eat that shit up. So that's what I think Harley should probably do, since you asked. All right, let's flip the script here for a second, because for all the nostalgia and love of those shaking V-twins, there's an argument to be made here that maybe Harley needs to evolve. Maybe letting current riders age out and bringing on some bikes that don't look like the status quo, that don't look like your granddad's Harley. Maybe that's exactly what Harley needs to evolve here. New riders don't want to spend all weekend polishing chrome. They don't know what a carburetor is, and honestly, they don't care. What they care about is performance and technology, versatility, low maintenance, and like I said, something that doesn't feel like their grandpa's bike. Ironically, the Rev Max engine actually nailed a lot of that. But what do I know? I mean, should Harley bring the X440 stateside? Should they revive the Sportster with more modern touches? It doesn't look like the Sprint's going to be any of that. And I still think it's going to get gate-kept by the Harley loyalists and probably largely ignored by those fans that already have a chip on their shoulder about the culture. But like I said, I do want it to succeed, and I am hoping for the best. And in the meantime, ride hard, stay salty. We'll see you in the next one. Do we have people at the pavilion is the question. We do not. And a couple of quick thoughts about what I hope the Sprint won't be. That's a Cadillac.